Strap in for the world's fastest half hour. You're on the Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Herbert and Ralph Sheheen.
Well, Steve Torrence goes 9-4-1 as he gets his 9th win of the season, 4th in a row, and sits number 1 in the points. Ron Capps flips the switch on the win light in funny car, and Jason Line keeps a very impressive streak alive in pro stock. That and much more coming up on MRN Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey everybody, Ralph Sheheen and Doug Herbert with you. Welcome into our studios here, the MRN facilities in Concord, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, as we get ready to talk a little drag racing here today. And let's begin with Steve Torrence. Man, 9-4-1, pretty impressive numbers.
It's really impressive number. I'll tell you what, Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana Jr. are doing a great job keeping that car running. Steve Torrence is doing an excellent job behind the wheel. They don't have it done yet, but if they had a problem winning the championship this year, I don't know what it would be, because they've got a huge lead.
Which one of those numbers is more impressive to you? 9 wins in the season or 4 in a row?
4 in a row, yeah. 4 in a row is, yeah, that's, I'm not sure, actually, if anybody's ever won 4 top fuel races in a row, to be honest with you.
Well, and I think it's 4 like that, yeah, including the countdown.
Yeah, in the countdown, I know no one has, but 4 in a row, just in general, I mean, that's incredible. And the car's going down the track every run. It's running good. They're not breaking parts. It's they're stout.
It's got to be almost deflating for the rest of the competition when you roll up against him, knowing he's on such a hot streak, and you've really got to push yourself to get by him. Almost forces you into an opportunity of making mistakes easier.
Well, and, you know, John Force has won a lot of races because he's so good, but he's won a lot of races because the other guys go up there and go, oh, my gosh, we're racing John Force. We got to throw everything at it. And then they make a mistake. And, yeah, that's exactly the place where Torrence is at right now, what I believe. And then also in the semis, he had a little bit of a hole shot win over Tony Schumacher. That means, you know, Tony's generally pretty good on the lights. I mean, that was stout. To be able to go up there when your back's against the wall, that was Tony's only hope for staying in the championship countdown, and he got whipped. So, man, that's they're tough, and when they get the pressure on, that's when they come up, and that's what wins the championship. Like last year, Brittany Force. I mean, they kind of floundered along all year, and then those last few races, they came on strong, and that was, you know, Torrence stumbled, and they were there.
And I think that's kind of what I find really impressive about Torrence right now is it's not just one area of the performance. It's not just like the team's giving him a really good car. He's driving really well, too, and the car is really good, and they're just crushing them on all levels of the game.
Yeah, they're going to be really hard to beat in the position that the way the car's running, the way Steve Torrence is driving that car, they're going to be tough to beat. They really are.
Let's talk about the brakes program, because that was a big deal for you too this week, and the gala coming on Friday night, right?
Yeah.
And huge numbers there? Huge
numbers, yeah. Last Friday night we had our annual brakes gala at the Quail Hollow Club. Was awesome. Felix Abatis was our host. We had, you know, big time. Rick Hendrick was there. Glenn Cromwell, president of the NHRA, was there. We just had a great crowd. It was incredible. Governor, our Speaker of the House for North Carolina, like the sheriff, the chief of police, like it was awesome. Had a great night. Raised over $250,000 for the brakes charity, and was just a super time.
What I know you had the engine block turned into a wine holder. How'd that go?
Well, actually, yeah, John Oberhofer, crew chief for the Coletta DHL team, built that thing for us, and it sold for $7,500. We had 2 bidders that wanted it, so it ended up, I called Jono and I said, hey, I need a favor. Can you build me another one? He said, yeah, I'll do it, but I've got to build my wife some, you know, I got to do some work around the house, but I'll get it done. So awesome. Huge thanks for
once he gets the gutters clean and a couple things painted, then he'll build you another one. Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
So it was awesome.
So we're going to have Ron Capps and Jason Line on the show here today. And I know Capps is getting ready to dial in. So we're going to take a quick break and come right back, and we'll get Ron Capps on the line and talk about his win in that Napa Funny car. Stay with us. More of Straight Line coming your way.
Things happen fast in racing, and if you don't know where to look, you can miss it all. With Legend from Racing Electronics, you'll never miss another moment. Legend gives you live fan vision video, in-car cameras, and stats at premier National Series events. And the next generation race scanner for unfiltered driver and crew audio at any motorsports event nationwide. Race fans have never been closer to the action. Welcome to the future of the fan experience. Learn more by visiting racingelectronics.com.
Now's the time to prepare for winter driving with Peak Long Life Universal Premixed Antifreeze and Coolant on sale for $8.99 a gallon after $6 mail-in rebate at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get maximum freeze protection for your car's engine with Peak Long Life Universal Premixed Antifreeze and Coolant at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, this is Mike Bagley. Join me and the rest of the MRN crew every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. We'll put a bow on the weekend's action and get you ready for the upcoming race with the biggest names in the sport.
As you look at that particular race, that's been one of our best races over the years, and I think every driver in the garage is looking forward to racing this particular package.
Hear exclusive interviews, expert analysis, as well as stuff you won't hear anywhere else.
Oh yeah, good job, guys. Good job.
It's NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Ralph Sheheen and Doug Herbert.
Well, all our guests on the Straight Line come to you via the Racing Electronics Hotline, and we have one dialed in and ready to go from this past weekend here at ZMAX Raceway. Ron Capps takes the win in the funny car category. Hey, Ron, how you doing, old buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Has that tan faded from Hawaii, by the way?
A little bit. I'll need to work on it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that Napa gig you have is great on the car, but every year when I see you going off to Hawaii with him, I'm like, Cass, man, he scored a good one there. Tell us the story on the car this weekend. Why ZMAX? What brought it all together?
Well, we seem to have this killer mojo with special paint schemes. We just always seem to do well. We ran the Pennzoil Napa car, which was an awesome paint scheme in Seattle, and ended up winning the race, and we get to run it next race in Vegas, which I'm looking forward to. But sure enough, man, we had a great car with the night vision lamps, these new headlights Napa came out with, and he decided to use Chase Elliott and myself and our teams this last weekend. So he was in Talladega, and we were in Charlotte, and it we were joking about how well we do with it. And the next thing you know, I'm in the winner's circle getting interviewed, and it's just, it's always fun to do those special paint schemes, no matter what it is, and help promote anything, your sponsor does. But, man, my crew chief Tobler, we fell back a couple races. We had some, a bad first-round loss in St. Louis and Dallas, and, we left Dallas. We shook hands, little hug, and when we left the trailer, he looked at me and said, we're going to go win the next three. If we win the next three, they can't. And, man, he showed up with his big boy pants on, that's for sure.
I'll tell you what, it seems like Tobler has, and you as well, you guys have something going on at ZMAX Dragway where you're pulling the gate, and just like you said, you got that little bit extra confidence. Tobler's got it down, and it's just, it's not automatic, but it's kind of comfortable winning at ZMAX.
Well, we went back to the 5-disc clutch, which was a little bit of a retro move for a lot of reasons. Mainly, he just didn't feel comfortable when we went to the 6-disc, and most of our teammates had it as well as a lot of other funny car teams. But he just felt so much more comfortable with the 5-disc last few years, winning the championship, and we almost went back-to-back last year, and we were sort of the lone car out there with a 5-disc. Well, this lower track prep, that thing that sort of started earlier this year where basically the NHRA decided they're going to take the stickiness away a little bit, percentage-wise, for the top fuel car teams, and not put as much preparation down with the sticky stuff, and make it a little more difficult for cars to get down and bring the speeds down a little bit. And I think they had a lot of reasons for doing it. But with that being said, it was a natural progression for us to go back to the 5-disc, we thought, and it was just perfect timing. And as soon as we did, we went on to win the Bristol race right after we put it in. And here we are, and all of a sudden now we have our teammates all putting the 5-disc back in. So he's been helping our teammates get those set up, and I think it's going to be a good thing for DSR as far as being able to communicate with each car better.
Ron, what does that do for you as a driver? Do you get a different sensation in the car when you're driving that type of clutch?
Yeah, what happens? It's basically an additional floater, an additional clutch in the car, so it doesn't get as hot when you've got 6 discs in there. So when the clutch locks up in the car, it's very smooth and very gradual, the way the RPM comes down as the way you feel it as a driver. The 5-disc actually heats up itself and it welds itself together at a certain point during the run, and that's been the tricky part for crew chiefs over the years, is trying not to let it weld on its own, trying to manipulate it and get it to weld the way you want it to weld. When it welds, Ralph, it is like pulling another gear. If I had a gear shift lever that I could pull at half track, an imaginary one, and it was an overdrive or something, that's what it would feel like. It clunks in the car, and just it's like banging a gear, and it's crazy because it almost throws you back in the seat even more than it already is. So it's a different feeling there, and you really have to be on your game, because at that point it's trying to shock the tire, and you don't want to be out of the groove or rocking the car back or forth. You want to make sure the car is right in the middle of the rubber.
Hey, Ron, with that second round win over Robert Hight, that was pretty critical in the points battle, keeping you right in there, and then going on to win the race. Tell us a little bit about any extra pressure that you had going up there second round racing Robert Hight.
Well, we just, we get tired of sitting back on our trailer these last few races, and I'm sure people have felt the same way about us when we were leading the points. We want that point leader knocked out. Somebody's got to take them out, or they're just going to continue to run amok with the points. And so, it's a helpless feeling to sit back like we did the last couple races and just hope somebody's going to do the job. And we've always felt like we just got to do it ourselves. And it's always a monster matchup with Robert and I because of our crew chiefs. They're friends off the track, but they're two of the best, I think. And so we have the best seats in the house, obviously, with Robert and I, and we knew we had to do it. It was our season, basically. We had to put a stop to it, and we knew JR was out in the points as well. But at that point, it's either beat that team then or we start testing for 2019. So that was a huge matchup, and Tobler to throw down an 88 at 332 miles an hour in the lane that really wasn't the lane choice lane was an amazing feeling for me in the car. It was a handful, but it was fun.
So you're sitting here, as I look at the points, it shows Wilkerson's just 2 markers behind you, knocking on your door, and you're 109 out from behind Robert. Obviously, the easy answer is I just got to keep winning. But as you look at this and you talk with your crew, how do you guys strategize how you're going to take him down?
Well, it's funny because I've been in a position. I know Robert and JR, they've got that a little over 100-point lead on us, and I know how comfortable that feels looking from the outside. I know those two were going, man, with the Pomona, you got to imagine Pomona is a points and a half. So there's 150-plus points available at Pomona. So there's a lot going on in this next race, and we've said the last couple of years with this countdown, with the points and a half on Pomona, you have to treat Pomona like it's its own island as a race. It's on its own, and you have to pretend that Vegas is going to be our last race of the season, and wherever the points are there, then go to Pomona and see what you can do. So a lot left, but it's going to be a statement race for us and really for Wilkerson and J.R. Todd and Hight, because they've either got to sustain where they're at and not make a mistake, and we got to make a run, and we got to make sure we get to the final, and they're not in the final. So a lot's going to be it's going to be almost like Vegas is going to be it, and then hopefully we can be within reach and go to Pomona and mathematically be ready to go.
Hey, Ron, one of the things, the short video clip that we just played showed Don Schumacher on the starting line. He was pretty happy. Did you get a chance to talk to Don after the race and download a little bit with him?
Yeah, after the Dallas race, we lost a force in the first round. We underestimated what they were going to run. And basically Don told Tobler he needed to grow a set of you know what. So with that being said, we showed up to Charlotte, and I think that Tobler remembered exactly what Don had told him. And so we were number one qualifier after Friday night, and Don came in and patted him on the back and told him he admired him for growing a set. So I think the motivation that Don gave Tobler really, it helped a lot. And I did see him after the race, and I'm so happy when he's smiling, and I'm so happy when I see pictures of him on the starting line from our wins, because obviously he gives us everything, and it's good to see that boss smiling.
Camps, I know you're no metalhead just like me, so because you and I have had a lot of conversations about our musical tastes. So as you prepare for a race weekend, what's your playlist? Does it start on Monday to build towards Sunday? How do you do that? Are you hitting the heavy Metallica Sunday morning? What are you doing?
Well, as far as the race, but you got to back up. I typically get on Polestar or one of those sites, and I find out who's playing where we're racing weeks in advance. And if I know somebody's playing, I might either come in early or make sure I get set up and I call somebody I know. And we were going to see Ozzy Osbourne last week, and I always do well when I go to a show before a concert for whatever reason. And Ozzy ended up having surgery on his hand, and we were all set up to meet him and hang out and talk with him backstage. And I was so excited. And then they canceled that tour. So, obviously this week I'm taking my son Caden. System of a Down is playing here in San Diego, and it's going to be his first concert, and he just started playing guitar. So I feel like this could carry me into the Vegas race. It's not quite before the Vegas race, so hopefully that mojo will work. And, of course, Vegas has all kinds of shows. But to answer your question, Sunday morning, we were going old school. We had Montrose was Sunday morning, and that got going in my head with Bad Motor Scooter and some other songs, and that kind of set the tone.
That's great. I was just to show you how he and I are just completely connected on this. I was on Polestar today, looking ahead to my upcoming trips. I love that about you, Caps. That's great. Good stuff.
Awesome. Ron Capps, congratulations on the win over here. Great job by you, Ron Tobler, the whole Napa team. Dude, you got 2 more races to go, and looks to me like you're the one with the most momentum right now.
Well, it's going to be fun. Being the hunter instead of the hunted should be a blast, man. I always love being on your show. That means we won the weekend before, first of all, but we always seem to do well after being on your show. And, of course, Ralph, it's always cool, man, talking to you, and I can't wait for Supercross 2019. It's going to be a blast.
All right, buddy. Hey, listen, thanks for joining us on our Racing Electronics Hotline. Have fun at System of the Down, and we'll get you back on the show here real soon.
You got it, man. See you guys.
All right, brother. Be good. Hey, we'll be right back with more Straight Line right after this.
O'Reilly.
Save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life Motor Oil and a MicroGuard filter on sale now for the same price of Valvoline Conventional at $26.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve engine performance with Valvoline at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my 2 sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
MRN.com. Original online audio, video, and digital content. Need the latest information on each week's races? Check out the MRN.com Race Center. Need to find your local radio station for MRN original programs and Camping World Truck, Xfinity, and Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races? Go to Stations on MRN.com. All the latest NASCAR news and opinion pieces, race schedules, driver standings, and archives of MRN programs, MRN race broadcasts, and so much more. MRN.com.
You're staged for another run on the straight line. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Once again, here's Doug and Ralph.
We are back with MRN's The Straight Line. Ralph Sheheen and Doug Herbert with you, and we're going to dive right back into our Racing Electronic Hotline, where the guy who kept the streak going in pro stock for a personal record, I think it's 15 seasons in a row now, Jason Line, you've gotten yourself to a Wally?
It is 15 in a row. Yes, I waited right till the end here. It wasn't my plan, but yeah, kind of a cool stat.
Well, yeah. Well, every time you win is a cool stat, Jason. So winning 15 years in a row, that's pretty awesome. I guess that does that mean we're getting old,
Doug? That I sort of forgot.
So what got it done now? You said it took you a long time this year. What made the difference this weekend?
Well, I pretty much stunk the whole year. So, like, my chances of winning were not good. I actually started off okay, and I've been in a few finals. Just, I haven't haven't driven good enough, haven't done a good enough job, and there's been times where my car was it was a little subpar, at least by our standards. We haven't run that well, and finally here the last few races the car's been good, but I haven't driven good. So Sunday somehow managed to put it all together, and obviously it takes a little good fortune sometimes to win one of these things, and I had that, and so we come away with Wally. So really it was a great day for our team for sure.
Jason, over here at ZMAX Dragway, I see you guys over there testing quite often. Is this being your hometown track, is that kind of an advantage that you're here, or is it a little disadvantage because you got so many other distractions with all your friends and neighbors and everybody hitting you up for tickets and all the stuff that goes along with that?
Let's go with option 2. It's tough, and so I apologize to everyone that I ignored this weekend, but sometimes you just have to step away, and unfortunately to win, sometimes you got to be just a little bit selfish, where you're not thinking about everything or everybody else, and it's probably bad to say, but we got 5 cars in our stable, and 4 of them lost first round, and that probably didn't hurt my cause really. So. And you hate to have to win that way, but I think that it certainly helped me focus a little bit better.
Yeah, we're looking at the video here, and your partner in crime, Greg Anderson, was pretty pumped up when you turned on that win light. It's got to be a huge boost for the whole organization, right?
It is, especially after having, like by our standards, for sure, a subpar year.
Hey, Jason, one of the places you guys always seem to do pretty well at is out to Vegas. You're going back out there, home to Ken Black, your team owner. That's got to be pretty exciting, and past success that you guys have had out there as well.
Yeah, I like going to Vegas, actually. It's definitely a fun place to go, and that track has been very good to us, and they did a fantastic job repaving it last spring, turning into the 4-wide, and the place is it's phenomenal. So much like ZMAX, both those facilities they're second to none. So I like going there. Obviously, Ken and Judy from there are team owners, so it's a good time for sure, and it'd be nice to carry a little positive momentum going into that race for sure.
Doug and I have talked the last week or so about the ranks of pro stock, and this weekend there was 14 cars, I guess, at ZMAX. What's your take on what's happening in the pro stock category, and what might be the problem there?
Well, the problem is this is way longer than this conversation is gonna last. I can tell you that it's way deeper than that. But the biggest problem is it's very it's tough to afford to do. Economically, it's difficult. I mean, very expensive, and we got our purse cut our year or so ago, and that doesn't help our cause either. So there's a lot of reasons for it. It's a tough class, there's no doubt, which they all are. They're all tough in different ways, but there's probably a lot of reasons. But economically, it's really difficult. It's hard to say I want to go race pro stock and spend a couple $1 million on my engine program and then go out there and run like everybody else. It's tough.
Yeah, and that is looking at the pro stock cars, when you see that there's it's mostly Chevrolets all out there, and that's got to in the old days it seemed like that rivalry, right? Warren Johnson, you had Oldsmobile, and you had Pontiacs, and you had Fords and Mopars, and then all of a sudden all we have are Chevys. That's from a fan standpoint, that's got to be a little bit tough too.
It is. I think there's no question that having the lack of OEM involvement has certainly not helped. And I think people still like the racing. I think it's still, I don't know. I could stand out there all day and sign autographs. So obviously people still watch it. But from I don't think we have a fan issue at all. I think we have a participant issue, and it just doesn't look that appealing to jump into. I think for most people, it's a daunting task, and it's a lot of money to spend. So, and without some of the other OEM involvement, I think that hurts it a little bit.
Are you in favor of then hacking up the pro stock rule book and going in a radical different direction with it to cut those costs?
Well, yeah, I think I am. I'm open to suggestions as well. So, I don't know. The problem is we've had a lot of rule changes. Years ago we had rules changes. I think probably a lot of them had Summit's or KB Racing's name on them. And the problem with the rules changes, I saw this when I was in Cup. Rules changes don't save people money. They end up costing you more. So it's tough to cheapen something up. It's very difficult to do. You look at all the classes. I'm a sportsman guy, and I mean Doug knows that. And I look at the Copo cars and all the shootout cars, and here's your entry level class, and you're spending $200,000-$300,000 to get into it. I'm not sure that's entry level.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Yeah. Hey, that final coming up there over here at ZMAX, racing Tanner Gray. I mean, the pressure was on, and then you dug down, got a 20 light, got a really good light, and the car just did what you needed to do. What after the race, sitting down and reflecting with Greg and the rest of your team on that, I mean, that had to lift you guys up pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. It does for sure. And the question I ask, hey, why was Tanner so late? So. I would have taken his light any day of the week, but the kid he's super fast. He's tough, and I'm not sure you want to race him any round, nonetheless the final. But for whatever reason, maybe he felt bad for me and let me leave first. I don't know. But either way, I was super stoked to look over in high gear and not see him there. That was a nice feeling.
So 15 years in a row, obviously you'd like to keep the record going. Are you a stat guy? Do you follow that type of stuff, Jason? Or is it just one of those things that, hey, man, that's cool?
I'm not a stat guy, but of course I knew about it because I guess for a couple of reasons. People like to remind you when you're not doing well. They definitely like to bring that up. And Andrew Hines, him and I are good buddies, and he's got the same record going. So he hasn't won yet this year either. So we've talked about it a little bit back and forth, and it's his turn now, I guess. So he's got 2 chances to get it done.
Man, hey, Jason, one of the things that you and I always talk about, we go to that Stocks for Todd event almost every year up here in Mooresville that they do up there. Are you going there this year? Are you guys going to the USO event that you usually do? You kind of stay busy a little bit after the drag racing season's over.
We normally do, yes, and I'll absolutely do. Don Miller puts on the whole Stocks for Tots, and that's a great time. It's my if nothing else, it's my one time a year I get to see Doug, so that's good. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and it's close to home, and it's just a few hours, so it's a great way to give just a little bit of something back. But we generally do the Armed Forces Tour. Summit puts that on, and we generally do that, but. The Armed Forces Entertainment, they cancel it on us this year. So apparently the region that we were going to is in a lot of unrest right now. So they canceled it, and I was not that angry over that. So, yeah, we have enough fighting here. I don't need to go over there and witness it too. So I don't want to stay out of trouble. But yeah, so we're not going this year, so that leaves me a little bit more time. So. But we got some cool projects and some stuff we're working on for next year, so that's good.
Well, I will see both of you at Stocks for Tots again this year. Looking forward to that, as always, coming up in December. And Jason, for now, thanks for joining us on our Racing Electronics Hotline, and best of luck out in Vegas.
You bet. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Okay, stay with us. Red light, green light, coming up right after this. Hey race fans, it's Ralph Sheheen, and like you, I have a huge passion for racing. With the most in-depth features on racers, series, and events, no one covers racing better than America's original motorsports publication, Speed Sport. Get your subscription to Speed Sport magazine today at speedsport.com.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Oh, 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 O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Ralph and Doug.
For 30 years now, Racing Electronics has been the #1 choice for racing scanners, headphones, and the popular FanVision handheld unit. Check out all our great new products online, racingelectronics.com. And of course, they bring us our hotline here each and every week, and two great guests over there today in Ron Capps and Jason Line. Anything you wanted to say about the Pro Stock motorcycle performance this past weekend before we move on to red light, green light?
Man, Matt Smith, he just really got the job done, grabbing the points lead. Matt, as many of our listeners know, we've had him on the show several times. He comes from a racing family,
Yep.
Ricky Smith. They just know how to race. They're really good racers and kind of, KG and really good to see Matt and Angie doing so well and having the success that they're having. I'm glad to see them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. Okay, time now for red light, green light, and we're going to have both of those today. So let's start with the negative side. Let's go red light first, and it's basically what we were talking about with Jason, and that's the small field of Pro Stock cars we saw this past weekend here at ZMAX. Just 14 machines entered.
14 Pro Stock cars. Man, that when you have a 16-car field and only 14 cars show up, that's something, and that's quite a big change from back in the 90s. I remember there was, it seemed like there was 35 Pro Stock cars showed up at every race. So that's pretty disappointing. And I think, just as Jason said a little bit ago, they're going to have to do something about that. I mean, the decline in the participation in the class is, that just can't go on. As we've talked about before, they've got Pro Mod. That's a fan favorite. That's popular, and there's plenty of those around. And then those factory stock class. I mean, there's plenty of those around. They're fun to watch. They pull the front ends, and they're fast.
Well, the numbers are staggering, though. What he was talking about, the price, a couple $1 million, in your engine program alone. But then you talk about the factory class that we were looking at too, the Copo Camaros and all that. And he's saying $200,000-$300 there, $200,000 there.
Yep.
That's not an easy entry fee either.
Right. Well, racing's expensive. I mean, that's just the way it goes, and I think it's always going to be that way. But for the, basically what you do is you look at it like a sponsor would look at it. What's the value that I'm going to get out? How much is that sponsorship worth? Whether it's like for Greg and Jason, Summit Racing. Okay, how much money are we going to spend on that provides us a good return on that investment on that team? And they come up with the number. And if it costs 3 times more than that to run the race car, then you got to go, okay, well, what's the point here? This is a rich guy's hobby. It doesn't need to be a rich guy's hobby. It needs to make sense, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to increase the participation level, I think.
Yeah. Green light, let's talk about the track crew and the NHRA staff at ZMAX. They did a great job. A lot of rain this weekend with Hurricane Michael, trees down all over my neighborhood, I'm sure yours as well.
Yep.
And they had a great show. They did a
really
great job prepping that racetrack.
I was out Friday morning talking to John Oberhofer, crew chief for the DHL Funny Car, and he had been doing a pretty extensive track analyzation, and the rubber was peeling up. It was terrible. They were worried there was going to have a bad time, water coming through the track and all that. The NHRA prep crew went out there, the safety safari, and prepped the track, and it was awesome. The track conditions were great all weekend. So, yeah, huge kudos to the NHRA safety safari.
Yeah, and a big crowd on hand as well over the course of the weekend. So, all in all, I think another fantastic weekend here at ZMAX, living up to the billing as one of the best strips on the tour. Well, we sure hope you enjoyed our edition of The Straight Line here this week. For Doug Herbert, I'm Ralph Sheheen. Thanks for Jason Line and Ron Capps for joining us on our Racing Electronics Hotline. We'll see you here soon on another episode of MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts.